Hello, Rocketeers! You've landed on planet Rock City, and Taiga is nowhere to be found. Isn't that just fantastic? Welcome to episode 2 of Rock City, ladies and gentlemen. There's still so many of you flooding in that I am very, very glad and pleased to welcome you to an episode of Rock City that you may be seeing for the very first time. In fact, you all are. Wow, cool! Of course, if you don't know about Rock City, if you don't know about the format, this is the opportunity that I get to talk to you guys about some old school traditional rock and some alternative rock. Something a little bit different than what I traditionally do on this channel, where I talk mainly about metal and things like that, since I am a very diverse individual and get to listen to a whole lot of shit whenever I'm at work, including that which is a little mainstream. If that makes me lame, then I'm lame. My job is lame, I'm lame, the world is lame. I like being lame, it's cool. So let's get started. Let's get right into it. There's two big ones that really came out over the past couple of weeks that finally I was able to get my hands on and got the opportunity to listen both times at work. The very first one that I want to talk to you guys about is Battleborn by the Killers. And this is an album that is a return for them. It's been a number of years since their last album. And so this was one that was highly anticipated by a lot fewer individuals. I had them back in the Somebody Told Me days, where everyone was exploding about that song and Mr. Brightside, and of course When We Were Young was on Guitar Hero, and every person within a 5-mile radius that had skinny jeans wanted a Killers record. Well, that's not the case with Battleborn. With this album, I hear a lot of influences from some Bruce Springsteen. I just like the real feel of it. There's a little bit of a cinematic element to it, but more so an orchestral element. Brandon Flowers' voice just never gets old. That's the best part about this. He's able to envelop any style that the Killers are able to come up with musically, and his voice just fits it perfectly, and that's one of the reasons why this album does work. Now, traditional fans are going to really enjoy this, but wayward fans that kind of only like the hits will probably listen to this and find it to be a snoozer, find it to be dull, find Runaways to be, an anthemic, Bruce Springsteen-like tribute to perhaps the boss himself, but in reality it's just an all-around really good affair, good traveling music, fantastic for perhaps a late night of listening to music alone next to a candle, or perhaps just next to a small tiny little nightlight. Definitely good stuff. Now conversely, we had the new MUSE record, and this is one that really is going to spark a lot of debate, I have a feeling. Mainly because this is an album where whenever you hear Madness, you hear that little hint, that little glimmer of that D word that we really don't like to talk about a lot on this channel. And that word is dubstep. You hear it just a little bit of electronica, a little bit of dubstep, whatever you want to call it on Madness, but the song was good. So, initial reaction, at least from my standpoint, was, well, the song was good, so what the hell's what's wrong with it? I could probably get into this on a whole album. Because along with the little hints of and glimmers of dubstep, I also heard moments of Queen, for example. Then I picked up the record, and I must say I was very disappointed with this. Overall, Madness was the song that had the real zinger on it, The song that they used for the Olympics, I could care less for. It's a very good vocal song, but at the same time, it just feels kind of forced. I really didn't enjoy that much. And the rest of the album for me is very forgettable very, very quickly. Now, if this is an experiment that they opted to do for this record, then I'm glad that that's all that it is. However, considering that it's been said by members of MUSE that dubstep is the future of rock music and quote-unquote metal, that's definitely not a positive sign in the right direction. Either way, the Second Law by MUSE is definitely not a keeper for me. It was in fact one that I enjoyed very little. I still love the pants off of Madness. I will still mark out like a 3-year-old schoolgirl that's seeing, Barney live at their mall and think that it's a room. But aside from that, so let's move to a little bit more of a classic rock element. Let's move to Jeff Lynne with Long Wave, which was just released this past Tuesday. This is a song, a collection of songs, cover songs, that Jeff listened to whenever he was growing up, like in the 50s and the like, in England. So these are all covers, and of course, if you don't know who Jeff Lynne is, he was one of the influential founding members of the Electric Light Orchestra. He's also been a record producer for a number of years. He's produced albums for the Beatles, blah, blah, blah. History is, history is kind to us all whenever we have accomplished things, and he has certainly accomplished plenty. This is an album where you could definitely tell he's taking some old standards from that time frame and really giving it the Jeff Lynne makeover. His voice really suits a lot of these songs, and whenever he's able to add that traditional harmony to it, and just kind of add his own flair. If you like the Electric Light Orchestra, then this is an album that may interest you in peaks. It definitely has some fantastic moments. These are very short songs, so this is not a very long album. It almost has a touch of folk to it. And overall, it's an enjoyable experience, but I would say it bats right around the middle of the road as far as whether or not it's awesome or not. It's definitely not blowing anyone's pants off, but if these are some songs that maybe you have in your collection of old vinyl 45s and you want to hear Jeff Lynne do his take on it, then go for it. Also, thanks to Jeff Lynne, we also have a new ELO, I guess, greatest hits album. These are all reworkings. Mr. Blue Sky is the name of the collection this time around, and these are all reworkings that Jeff Lynne has done for the band's work. Something that sort of started off just as a little experiment that he wanted to do with Mr. Blue Sky, and then eventually with Evil Woman and things like that. So, and then it just eventually evolved into an entire album of him reworking the greatest hits of this band, and even adding in a couple new recordings also. So it's kind of a unique little collection. Overall, Electric Light Orchestra greatest hits albums are pretty standard. You kind of know what you're getting into. You know what songs that you'll be delivered. And really, whenever you listen to it, you're not going to notice a ton of change. You're going to notice that the production value is definitely higher, and the compositional structure of it will be a little bit different in points, but really from one fan to another, this is something where you really have to dig deep in order to see the anachronisms between the two, and even then, you might be debating until the sun comes up over whether or not it's a true anachronism or just your imagination. Overall, though, hearing these songs with the heightened production value definitely gives it more of a boombastic and big feel, so that's kind of cool. Finally, I know, this is going to make me lame, and I don't care. Transit of Venus by 3 Days Grace. This was one that was thrown on in the store, not even by request. We got a promo copy of it, and I figured, fuck it, what the hell. I threw in Lupe Fiasco and loved it, so why not? Maybe 3 Days Grace actually, got good. Maybe they decided that 3 chords just weren't enough and needed a few more. Well, actually, that's kind of true. Out of all of the work that I have heard from this band, this is the one album that that has probably impressed me the most. And considering I'm very difficult to impress whenever it comes to modern day alternative rock, you really have to step outside the circle of, basic chords that was kind of delivered in that post-nu metal craze, what people like to call post-grunge, but really, I hate that term because it really just doesn't fit. This actually has a little bit more creativity behind it. I really kind of felt that they got a little bit stale. I really felt like, he had a distinct voice, so you knew a 3 Days Grace song whenever it came on the radio, but the band itself just felt stale, period. On this album, they don't feel as stale. There's a little bit more of a depth to them. They definitely incorporate more of a harmony element. And there are just some songs that can get really addicting. These are not songs that you want to pass on whenever you hear them come up. They have a single on the radio right now that you will, Chalk Line, that is very distinct. And, maybe that's a song that, considering you've probably heard it 1,000 times on the radio, you might want to skip. But the others are no slouches. So it's not like Chalk Line was really the best song, and that's why they chose it as the single. In fact, if anything, it was right along the middle of the road, whereas a couple of others they could probably release later and may get a second wave of buys due to another breakout hit. So overall, not bad. I'm very weirded out that I'm saying that, considering 3 Days Grace, ever since their inception, has always been kind of meh to me. But hey, times change and things change. People don't really change all that much, but hey, I have to admit something's good whenever it's good. So there you go. Well, thanks for coming for another episode of Rock City. Once again, I feel like talking about Lupe Fiasco, but I can't, considering this is called Rock City, so I'll just leave you by saying this. Food and Liquor, Part 1, the Great American Rap Album, it's damn good. That's all I'm going to say. If you disagree, that's cool. If you agree, that's cool. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, check it out because it's really good. I'll talk to you guys later.